Massive news drop today. After yesterday, I made a video complaining about a stale meta. Blizzard must have heard me and maybe everybody else in the community as well, and they have hit us with probably the biggest balance patch I have ever seen. I feel like I say that with every balance patch, but this one absolutely massive, and it's hitting the StarCraft mini set cards super hard, which I am over the moon about because I don't like that set very much. But I think these changes are great. We're also tweaking the power of a couple of outliers. There's some things that are just a little too good in a new standard environment, and I am very excited of these changes. So let's just jump into it. Also, uh the first esports open qualifiers are happening soon. I'm not sure if I'm doing those, but it's very cool to see Hearthstone esports is back. But let's just get into these beautiful nerfs. The first one that we have is with Dreadhound Handler. It was a 2-2, now it's going to a 2-1. I think this change is great. I love this card, but I also agree that a 2-mana 2-2 that comes with a 1-1 with Reborn is way too good for just 2 mana, as well as also this card still has Rush. Absolutely insane. It's still probably one of the best 2 mana minions still in Standard. I know that we're missing mining casualties upon rotation, but I still think that Death Knight is going to be completely fine, at least if Zergs still end up being good. But we'll get into those changes. And the first Zerg change, I love this change. It is with Infestor, the main problem card of the Zerg Death Knight deck. It is now a 4-2 instead of a 3-2, so a slight increase in the attack. But instead of a +1/+1 for the rest of the game, it's +1 attack for the rest of the game. I know a huge complaint a lot of players had was when the Zergs got reborn, they came back with pretty much full health. So this change will fix that, but also will allow players to keep up with the aggressive deck in the late game. An aggro deck like this should not have that good of a late game, so I think this is an absolutely amazing change. And another amazing change is Hydration Station. It is going up a whopping 2 mana, which at 8 mana, it's not that drastic. If something goes from like 1 to 3 mana, that's like a 200 or 300% increase in mana. This is only 2 more mana on an already late game card. So I still think Hydration Station will be playable because really you didn't really play this on turn 8 before. You usually wait till turn 10 anyway. But I think this is a good way to slow down this ramp druid style of deck, especially with the lower power that we're seeing out of the new set. I think that this is a very worthwhile change and will ensure that we see less of this style of deck in the very near future. Now, this is a change that I think makes total sense. I was kind of surprised to see Alien Counters hit because it doesn't seem like that strong of a card. But when I think back on playing against Discover Hunter, this kind of was the best card in the deck. It was just very sneaky in the way that it was the best card, if that makes sense. So instead of two 2/5s coming out, it is two 2/4s. So you're losing 2 health worth of stats overall, but still a 0 mana equal to a 4/8 spread across 2 bodies. That's still a fantastic card. This is still going to be a great archetype. I think Discover Hunter will be weaker, of course, because this is a nerf, but I think it will still be completely fine because I am expecting the power level to be significantly lower in future Hearthstone, which I cannot wait for. Thank goodness. I have hated this card for so long. I know Hand Buff Paladin's kind of fallen off recently, but during its time, it was dominant for months on end, and I kind of hate the play pattern of Hand Buff Paladin. So the new Painter's Virtue, very simple change, just drop the lifesteal. People have been clamoring for this change, and I think this is fantastic. So you used to be able to like smack into minions with taunt and like not really worry about it because of lifesteal. Now there's an actual cost in trading with this weapon, which is fantastic because Hand Buff Paladin really is a deck that wants to set up and then do a very explosive turn with a bunch of stats. And really, that setup should be the downside, but this lifesteal weapon kind of made that not a downside. It just totally got rid of it. And that's just kind of messed up. So I'm very glad that we're dropping lifesteal as well. I think a lot of charge minions are leaving standard as well. I know Leroy Jenkins is, and I think maybe South Sea Deckhand is as well. So massive hit to hand buff paladin. So any hand buff paladin enjoyers, I'm very sorry, but for my fellow hand buff haters, I'm going to be celebrating pretty hard tonight. And right when you think Paladin was nerfed enough with the weapon nerf that we just covered, Holy Glowsticks is also being nerfed pretty significantly. It can no longer target your opponent's face. So Lanessa Paladin be able to OTK and throw a bunch of face damage via Glowsticks. Just 2 Glowsticks and a Lanessa, that's just 16 damage right to your opponent's face, and very early too. So the Lanessa OTK combo deck will need to figure out a different way to throw some damage around. And I think this is a very worthwhile change, especially going into the new weaker, hopefully I'm really praying it's weaker Hearthstone standard environment. Priest is also not excluded from this wave of nerfs, with the Timewinder Zorimi now requiring you actually play the dragons instead of summoning the dragons. You actually need to spend mana on the dragons in order for this to have that extra turn effect. I think the Whelp Wrangler, that's what it's called, the 2/3 that you get a 1/2 at the end of turn, the dragon 1/2, that is rotating out, and that was a pretty massive enabler to the Zorimi Priest archetype. So it's kind of being nerfed in 2 ways. 1 by the rotation of that card, and 2 by this pretty significant nerf of actually needing to play the dragons instead of summon them. But this is still an extra turn card, so it will likely still pop up and see some play, especially with such a focus on dragons in the next set. Now for one of the weirder nerfs, we have Raza the Resealed. I actually need to read this one out. The old battle cry had, for the rest of the game, your hero power refreshes whenever you play a card. Your new one, it's a complete rework. You shuffle 5 random friendly minions that died this game into your deck. They cost 0. So we're abandoning the hero power idea, and we're doing like some weird resurrect priest thing now. This is likely, and it is confirmed, because the immune priest hero power was not designed with Raza the Resealed in mind. So they decided to, instead of maybe making it too powerful, to just kind of scrap Raza and give it this new rework. We'll see if this does anything. I'm not seeing it do much, but the effect is kind of interesting. I don't think it'll be good, but it's definitely a little interesting. And for some reason, Blizzard just hates Priest for this patch, because also Orbital Halo was hit. Just a decrease in the power gain that it gives the minion, and it now just gives +1/+1 instead of +2/+1. It's a change, the card is weaker now. So Aggro Priest hates seeing this change, but it's still a perfectly fine card. It might see some play. 0 mana, +1/+1, and a Divine Shield. Pretty good rate, but we'll see if Aggro Priest is even a deck after rotation. But if it is, this will likely still play a role. Warlock saw 1 dedicated nerf for this patch, and it's just a Domino Effect. It's now 4 mana. Domino Effect is a fantastic board clear tool. It's also kind of unfortunate that Defile is also rotating at a standard, so we're losing a board clear tool out of Warlock that was one of the best, and we're also making one of the more better board clears weaker. Gonna guess Blizzard just decided that board clear shouldn't be this good, which is good. I think the board should matter, and Domino Effect kind of played against that idea. Now, if you have wandering eyes, you might see the next nerf that's also going to impact Warlock. But this is the only one for this patch that was dedicated to Warlock. But I am very excited for the next nerf, and that would be Kerrigan, Queen of Blades. It's being nerfed. Thank goodness. I hate this card. It's still going to be playable, unfortunately, but it's going to have to wait a turn before dunking on me. It's going from 7 mana to 8 mana. Still fantastic card. You get 2/5 Hive Queen still deals 3 damage, both to your minions and to their face. So still very strong. Probably still going to see play. I'd be very surprised if a simple mana increase from 7 to 8 on a card this powerful would result in it being unplayable. So you still expect to see plenty Kerrigan, Queen of Blades in the new standard environment. Now, this might be one of the more impactful changes of this balance patch, and it is to Zergling, which has been a problematic card since day one when it came out. It resulted in Jafar being banned straight up. So we're finally touching Zergling, so that's fantastic. So the new change is instead of summoning a copy of this, you just summon a 1/1 Zergling. So Hand Buff Hunter was a very dominant deck, and it revolved around buffing up the Zergling, so you would pretty much double up the hand buff. So if this was, let's say, a 7/6 in your hand, it would come with two 7/6s. Now, with this change, it comes with a 7/6, very powerful, but it comes with a measly 1/1 Zergling instead. So, very worthwhile change. Very happy to see this. And Hand Buff Hunter can go kick rocks, honestly. And another hero card was nerfed from the StarCraft mini set. It's almost like the StarCraft mini set was way too good. So, Jim Raynor, same treatment as Kerrigan, 7 to 8. Jim is still going to see plenty of play. Jim is still great, and don't expect to see any less of Jim unless the next set of nerfs results in good old Jim being a little less playable. And those nerfs are to the starship pieces that are made off of Liftoff and Starport. The first one is Viking. So we're going from 7 armor to 5 armor upon launch. Liberator is going from 2 damage to all enemies to just 2 damage to all enemy minions, so a little bit less face damage. Raven is going from 3 bonus effects to 2 bonus effects. And Banshee is going from 5 damage to 3 damage. So all of them, except for the one that sends out 2/2s with Taunt, have been nerfed. So Jim is going to 8. These starship pieces were significantly nerfed. I think maybe we will face something other than Terran decks in the new standard, which I am very excited about. Those decks made me miserable. So very excited for this change. And another exciting change is Ceaseless Expanse. It is now a 10/10 instead of a 15/15. And I hear people say, okay, so it's a 0 mana 10/10 instead of a 0 mana 15/15 now. Big whoop. And like, that is a big deal. Losing a 5/5 worth of stats is very relevant. Oftentimes against these slow grindy decks, they would just not touch your life total until the turn when the Ceaseless Expanse would come out. So instead of hitting you for literally half of your life total, it's only hitting you for a measly third. So I think people are sleeping on how big of a nerf this is. And also, I am very excited about this nerf because I have a signature version. So that means I'm going to get a sweet, sweet 3200 dust in the very near future. Insidious. Okay, so Insidious, for people who don't remember before StarCraft times, this just kind of showed up in way too many decks. You just put it in your deck because it was generally good. And I think Blizzard took note of that. With the big nerfs to the StarCraft set, it's more likely that Insidious will see an uptick in play. So increasing it to 7 mana, I think that is a very good change. The only concern I have is Shutterblock into Insidious really wasn't disrupted. Shutterblock is a 6 mana minion that triples your next battle cry, and then you would just Insidious the next turn. So that play pattern is still in the game, and I think that will be a very powerful strategy moving forward. So we'll see what this nerf does. Praise be that they finally are nerfing Bob. Bob's recruit a minion ability was broken. It was broken day one. They spoiled Bob, and we saw recruit a minion, and the community in unison said, that's busted. So instead of just yoinking the minion from their side of the board and put it in your hand, you now just get a copy. So your opponent still keeps their copy, and they get 3 coins, and you just get a measly copy of their minion. Much, much, much worse. The other abilities are still perfectly decent, specifically the board freeze mode on Bob. So I don't think Bob is going to see absolutely no play, but is going to see significantly less play because Recruit a Minion was by far the most powerful effect of the 4 that he had. And a balance patch would not be complete without nerfing Zilliax Deluxe 3000. For this patch, we are going to nerf the virus module. So instead of a 1/4 elusive poisonous reborn, we are now getting +1/+1. So it's a 2/5 elusive poisonous no reborn. And I would say the reborn was probably the most annoying keyword here. Elusive is also pretty annoying. And MC Tech is rotating so that we won't have that counterplate of elusive anymore. And as we saw, Bob can no longer steal a minion. So I'm kind of hesitant to say Zilliax is fixed now. I think elusive is still a bit of an issue, but we also did see that hydration station nerf. So both this change and the hydration station nerf might finally be a way for us to see less of this robot that we see pretty much every other game, it feels like. Now, I love Gorgonzomu more than the next guy, I would say. I'm a huge fan of this card. But I will also concede the fact that he showed up in way too many decks. A 3-mana 3/3 is significantly better than a 4-mana 4/4. And I think this is a minor nerf, but also it does delay a turn that cheese is in your hand, which is very relevant. So I think this card will still see a little bit of play, especially in a standard environment that is, again, please be weaker. I hope it sees play still, because this is still a very fun card, and I will probably still jam it in my budget decks when I get the opportunity. And the final nerf, I never thought they were going to nerf this card. I am over the moon that they're nerfing this card, because I feel like people thought that this card was completely fine because the Great Dark Beyond was kind of a weaker set. When it was first released, it was pretty much just the Oracle that was good. The 3-mana guy, spell damage, spell burst, draw 2 spells. That guy, remember him? He was very good. Then they nerfed him. And the other good card was Arcanite Defense Crystal and Ceaseless Expanse, of course. But Arcanite Defense Crystal was definitely an outlier of power in the Great Dark Beyond. So seeing it receive any form of nerf, I'm happy about. And I think this is a very respectful nerf. A 6 armor gain down to 4 armor gain. I think that makes total sense for a 4-mana taunt minion that's also a starship piece. I think this is completely fine. Also, this is an additional nerf to Jim Raynor, and I hate Jim Raynor, so I love this nerf. So that is pretty much the balance patch. I think that this is fantastic. I think this is going to breathe some new life into Hearthstone, standard Hearthstone specifically. There is also some wild reverts that I'm not going to cover in this video, but I will leave a link to this balance patch in the description for you to check out those if those are relevant to you. But one thing that I want to kind of highlight is that the StarCraft mini set was very strong, hence why all the nerfs, but right now it is the absolute best value I think I've ever seen gold to dust ratio. So if you have not bought the StarCraft mini set yet, you can still buy it with gold. 2,000 gold, you get the whole StarCraft mini set. And the cool thing about these nerfs is you get a full dust refund. So any of these cards that you own come March 18th, I think is when this patch is live, you will be able to dust these cards for their full value. So if you have a Kerrigan here, instead of getting a 400 dust refund, you get the full 1,600. And real quick, I'm going to calculate how much dust you would get if you just bought the StarCraft mini set and dusted the cards that are going to be nerfed here soon. So be right back. Going to do a little bit of number crunching. So if you get the StarCraft mini set and just dust the cards that you're getting from that mini set, you get a total of 3,760 dust for an investment of only 2,000 gold, which is a phenomenal return. If you think about just a general Hearthstone pack, which is honestly 4 commons and a rare, that is, for the 4 commons, you would get 5 dust each. So you get 20 dust there and 20 dust for the rare. So you get 40 dust on average from that Hearthstone pack, which costs you 100 gold. And I don't know if I needed the calculation for you, but this is a much better rate for dust. So if you have not bought the StarCraft mini set yet, I recommend that you do not spend any gold. Save that gold up to 2,000 because this is a great opportunity to maximize on that dust return. And if it turns out that these cards are still playable, that's fine. You can just craft them for their full cost if they turn out to still be good. But I think that is a worthwhile investment, and I highly recommend doing that. But anyway, that is the balance patch, and that is my little recommendation of Hearthstone Finance. If you enjoy content like this and would like to see more of it in the future, please consider subscribing. Help me get to that 1,000 number that we're striving for. And if you want to help me get in front of more people, a like goes a long way. But anyway, that's all I got for you today. Have a good one.